you to our cooking class this morning. We are cooking today Hearty Meals from the Garden with Kelly Shay. And before we get to our cooking class, we do want to thank our host today, Four Sisters Farm. And Gloria is going to tell us just a little bit about Four Sisters Farm. We're in this lovely space, and I know that they are always wanting to have some folks come check it out. So, Gloria, I'm going to pass it over to you.
So, hi everyone, I'm Gloria. I'm the farm manager here at the Four Sisters Urban Farm. This is a partnership between Mackey and Hennepin County. We've leased these 3 lots going up to, I think, Bloomington Avenue. And we are just trying to activate these spaces to make them community spaces that also center indigenous growing methods and plants. Yeah, so this is our first year of growing, and it's kind of just letting it evolve organically and bringing people in. We love having people come for classes and activities. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, Michelle and Kelly.
And what does NACD mean for those people who don't know?
The Native American Community Development Institute.
And if anyone wants to get involved volunteering or anything, what should they do?
You can just go to nacd.org, and there is a link for the Four Sisters Urban Farm, and that has my contact info.
Awesome. Thank you, Gloria.
And
so just to give you a quick synopsis of Minneapolis Edible Boulevards, we were started back in 2019. I was inspired both by my partnerships and work with North Minneapolis, some folks there with Project Sweetie Pie, Growing North Minneapolis, and then also working here with the Roof Depot, East Phillips Neighborhood Institute, and really wanting to partner and figure out how we could do more self-sustainable work in our partnerships, and also figuring out how to get food in our neighborhoods that historically had not had food and really had been denied that food through food apartheid policies intentionally. And so we offer resources, especially to the neighborhoods in the green zones, our north side green zone or south side green zone. If you're not sure about those, you can look them up online. And also Powderhorn Park, Longfellow, and Weber Camden have now joined in with us. So you can always contact your neighborhood association and say, hey, we want you to partner with Minneapolis Edible Boulevards, but we offer instruction on how to transform your lawn, your boulevard garden, your boulevard into a garden, and then have some soil, compost, just a few other things that you might need to make that happen. So yeah, and then join our Facebook page, which is Minneapolis Edible Boulevards, and we now have an Instagram page too, so excited about that. As I'm turning it over to Kelly, one of the things that we like to start off with is a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is just, you know, a lot of people say it's just words. We want to make sure that we're turning those words into action, which is, you know, what all of us here are doing. But we want to acknowledge that we are on Dakota land. We are on land that has been impacted by slaves. We did have slavery legal here in Minnesota for well over a year, back in the 1800s. And so we just want to keep everyone who was impacted back then and continue to be impacted today by those policies. And so if there's anything you want to add to that, Kelly, and I want to introduce you. You've been partnering with us since we started our cooking classes, and we met through a panel on food justice. So I'm so excited that you're here. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle. So really happy to to be continuing this partnership with Minneapolis Edible Boulevards. My name is Kelly Shay, and thank you again, Gloria and Four Sisters Farm for being our host today. As Michelle mentioned, I met Michelle through a food justice panel that was on about a year ago, over a year ago now. And so food justice, food accessibility, land acknowledgements, providing resources, cooking classes, education around nutrition and wellness to underserved communities and beyond is a passion of mine. And so I run an organization called Harmonious World and Wellness. I do events that fuse together the entertainment and the wellness industries. So working with a lot of different artists and healers, including nutritionists and food justice advocates like myself, farmers. And I also teach yoga and meditation. I've been doing these plant-based classes now for over a year, which has been a joy. This time it's really sweet because this summer we've been doing them outside in a farm and in the places where people are able to grow some of the food that we're using in the recipe. So that's been really special this year. And I also am a regenerative health practitioner, so also support people in the community on getting to the root cause of dis-ease. So really looking at the glands and the organs, understanding the systems, and then using herbs and nutrition planning, dietary planning to reverse the symptoms that cause different ailments in the body as well. So that's a little bit about me. And today we'll jump right in. We are making a maple and ginger roasted butternut squash and green bean and corn dish. It could be eaten solely as a dish of its own, or it can be a side dish. Squash is very filling. So that's why I say it could be just eaten just straight on its own. And so because we're outdoors in this farm setting, everything today has been pre-cooked, and I will assemble and put everything together. So the things that I'm going to demo are an easier way to cut a squash. So typically butternut squash, all squashes, they can be kind of a pain to slice and dice. So I've learned a few tricks to make that process a little bit easier. So I'll demo that today. I have the squash. I'll just give you guys a peek before I jump in. The squash has been roasted already. I've been roasted with a maple and butter. And so everything here is plant-based. So I did use a vegan butter, and everything here is also organic. So organic farming, regenerative agriculture, organic farming practices is another big passion of mine. So I advocate for things that protect and preserve our Earth's soil, and organic farming, regenerative agriculture farming practices. That's a big part of that initiative. So supporting companies that are about that too. And then so I have cooked the green beans, and I actually won't say just green beans because typically you can make this just with green beans, but I wanted to make it, step aside real quick. I wanted to make it pretty fun, and I added the green, and there were some black. They changed color, the purple green beans and yellow. And you know what, some of the purple ones might have just gotten more in here. Step aside. So the green beans and corn, and then red onions were used here, again with the ginger and Himalayan salt and pepper. So that is the main ingredients in this dish. And I wanted to say something else about why I chose to use. So I chose to use these ingredients because these are great like fall, autumn season harvests in gardens. So green beans will grow throughout, the summer and into the fall a little bit. Corn will grow also extended into the fall, and then squash. This is a great time to pick your squash if you have it. Now this is butternut squash. You could use acorn squash. You could use any kind of squash in this recipe. And I want to use these three because I wanted to also bring in that indigenous aspect of the three sisters and that concept of companion agriculture and farming. So you can use any squash, you can use whole bean, and you can use corn. And I don't know if Gloria or anyone else wants to speak to kind of the practices of, we're here at Four Sisters Farm, and I know there's indigenous practices, farming practices infused into the mission and vision here. So if any of you want to speak to that. But I have indigenous roots in my family, And so also wanted to tie that in and bring that forward and just share that on an intention and purpose of using these particular ingredients of Three Sisters. The green beans, the green ones I did grow in my garden. The other ones have been bought locally from the co-op, supporting our local cooperatives.
I did put a Miyoko's coupon book there.
Okay, great.
So Miyoko's Creamery, they actually sponsored Kelly's first class in the garden on the north side. And they sent us a bunch of coupon books. So they can be found sometimes at Target for the butter, usually just the cheese at Target, that all the local co-ops you can find them. And if you see us at one of the events, we still have some coupon books. So just wanted to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's great. So this is my version of a Three Sisters recipe, bringing in an indigenous practice, farming practice. So with that, we'll go ahead and demo how to slice the butternut squash and then you roast it. So a couple things, tricks that I've learned is if you want to make slicing butternut squash easier, you can slit just like this. You can puncture just little slits. It's tough, so be careful while you do this. Random places throughout the squash. You know, doesn't matter how many, just get, you know, a good amount covered throughout. And then you can put this just like this whole in the microwave for 5 minutes. Now this will just soften it up just enough so that it's easier to slice the skin off and dice into your squares. I typically don't use microwaves. Once in a while I do. So if you're in a time crunch, you just need to make something quick or heat something up quick, you know, by all means, go for it. So for this recipe, I didn't use the microwave, but I've seen this in practice and it seems to work very well if you want to make things easier on yourself as far as slicing this tough vegetable. So then after it's softened or not, you're gonna dice off the ends. That end and then this end. And you want to have a good knife, you know, if you can. I'm gonna slice that a little bit better. Well, we'll use that. Everything here will be composted, so nothing will go to waste. I'll just say that. And then we're going to slice it one more time. And then begin to peel. Now, in the past, I have used just a knife to slice off the skin, but a new trick that I highly recommend is you can just use a carrot potato peeler just like this size. If you can find a bigger one, and they have bigger ones like this and the handle's like downward, it makes it a lot easier. So I recommend getting one of those if you can. I don't have that here today, but this seemed to work fine. And then just starting to peel either way. It'll take a little bit of time, but not as much. It's a lot more efficient, faster approach than just using a knife. And you can go around once, or you can just keep going in one spot, but you do eventually want to get that green off. I mean, it's not a huge deal if you don't. It is okay if you don't get the green all the way off, but you want to go all the way around.
Do it that same way if you put it in the microwave?
Yes. Now it will be softer. You could just use a knife if you feel like a knife is faster. You know, it's a lot of it's personal preference, seeing what works best for you with the time that you have to prepare your meal. But yes, from what I've seen, different preparations, different chefs do online, they've microwaved it first and still done the slicing with the slicer. I'm going to turn it around, get a little bit more of the green off. And that's probably good enough. We can, you know, you can be a perfectionist and get all the green off or not. It's going to be roasted, it's going to be cooked. So it'll be just fine. And then I have my compost bag over here. So I'm just gonna clear this out of the way before we do the other one. We'll set that one aside. I have a little helper here today, so you might see a little child crawling in the background. Yes, that's one of my 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters. And I'm just gonna this page here. So, all right, let's go ahead and we're gonna do the same thing with this one, this half. And you could do this whole if it's easier to hold. You could not slice it in half and peel it. There are options. See what works for you. I tend to find it a little bit easier just to do the half. Did you have? What's nice about these classes and just edible boulevards is it's really also about building a community and connection to the land, to the food that grows from the land. And so family friendly, earth friendly community. So we have people of all ages around during these classes, which is nice. All are welcome. And you know, it's great to get your children involved in the cooking process. We're not going to demo that today, but if you have little ones at home, I encourage you to get them involved in here. Get those aside. And we're going to cut this in half. And then we're going to get these seeds out. And we're just going to use a spoon for that. And I didn't bring the little one, I meant to. And best way is just to scrape. Scrape, scrape, scrape. And get as much of the darker orange parts off, the slimier parts off. So I do scraping a couple times all the way through and then push that aside. All right. And then we'll do this other side. Got a little wonky with the slicing of this other end here, but I'll work with that. All right. That is scraped. Pretty good. Move that aside. I'm gonna get it all the way out of the way. Make room on the cutting board. And so just a couple things about squash. I like to talk about the benefits of some of the food, the ingredients that we're using here. But in the squash, it's a really great source of potassium in particular. They say that 1 serving of butternut squash, with about 1 cup, is 500 milligrams of potassium, which potassium is great at keeping blood sugar levels low, so lowering blood pressure. And then counteracting the effects of sodium in your diet. So keeping blood pressure in a healthy range obviously can help reduce the risk of different diseases like it's a great source of potassium. All right. And fiber. Let's talk about fiber. Fiber is super good for our digestive system, our guts. Squash is also a really great source of fiber. So, slicing. We'll start with this half. And we're doing little cubes. So as you saw here, I have small cubes. Now, the smaller you dice your your squash, the crispier it could be when you roast it. So, and the faster it will cook, really. So, if you want to speed up the process, do smaller cubes. If you're not time crunch, you want to do thicker cubes, you have that option. So slice it in half, and then I like to grab a couple at a time, depending on your knife. And I don't have the best knife today. I have a knife that works well for me that I do like. But so with the knife that I have, I'm actually not going to double up. But if you have a large, sharp knife, you could do this a lot faster and have 2 stacked at a time. So I'm going to do this. And we're not going to roast this here. So somebody gets to bring this home and can roast it later. Squash is also a really good source of vitamin A, which is, they say 1 cup of squash is over 350% of the recommended daily amount of vitamin A, and vitamin A supports good eyesight, so good eye health. There is a small amount of calcium in squash too, and manganese, so supporting strong, healthy bones. And I'm going to just, yes, leave this here.